Hey folks, this is Sam once again, and welcome back to another video. And this is of another film that John0cool1389 sent me, and that is Innerspace, 1987 film directed by Joe Dante, starring Dennis Quaid, Martin Short, Meg Ryan, Kevin McCarthy from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original from the 50s. Also, Robert Picardo, Harold Sylvester, who I remember in a part in Uncommon Valor. Dick Miller, character actor, has a little cameo role. And even a tiny supporting role is a guy who plays a reporter who works with Meg Ryan called Dwayne. That's actually Kevin Hooks, the guy who went on to direct Passenger 57 and Black Dog. So the director of those is actually has a big part here. Again, as Dwayne, one of these reporters that works with Meg Ryan. He's in the film a few times. But yeah, it's produced by Steven Spielberg, directed by Joe Dante. And Joe Dante, I enjoy a lot of his films that he did. I'm trying to think, what did he do first? I didn't see some of his really early ones. Piranha was okay. The Howling, I could never get too much into, although I liked the practical effects by Rob Bottin, and I liked the score. It's just the story, the humor just never got me too much with the Howling. But yeah, Piranha was okay. I love Gremlins. I think that's a classic. Gremlins 2 is a very underrated sequel. The Burbs is probably my favorite Joe Dante film. It's my favorite Tom Hanks film. I just love The Burbs. I know there's a special edition overseas on Blu-ray. I wish that came in the US on Blu-ray because, again, I'm a big fan of the film. Explorers. That's a weird topic for me, Explorers, because the first hour and such of that movie to me is magical. And then it just went in the toilet in the third act. And I know there's like, oh, there was production problems. And I'm like, I read through that stuff, but none of that seems like it affected your ending. It seems like you were always going with that ending. It's just you guys, to me, fucked up in the screenplay of writing a shitty ending like that. But I'm not talking about Explorers, but it just, like, part of me loves the film to death the first hour, but then the ending just went right into the crapper. But anyway. I haven't seen, I think he did a film called Matinee, which I haven't seen in forever. Looney Tunes Back in Action I thought it was alright for what it had to be. I didn't mind the film. The whole might as well be an asshole because that's how much it stunk. It was a shitty version of The Gate. Burying the X, I think, is his last one. I haven't seen that film. But there's quite a few Joe Dante films I enjoy. Like I said, The Burbs is my favorite. I enjoyed Gremlins 1 and 2. I do enjoy the first half of Explorers. But this is definitely one of my favorites from Joe Dante, Innerspace. It's a very underrated film. Doesn't get talked about much. When it came out, it made, what, 25 million at most, or 30 million at most. It did not do well at all. It was a bomb. It came out in the summer. I think it went in July of '87, and it just made no money. I don't know if they just didn't have much for the marketing, because the trailers of the film are not really the best. The trailers, because it's just the title just pops up with a bunch of words. Here's Steven Spielberg's Innerspace. It's just kind of nonchalant in how they place the title, and but how about have it so that here's space, and then here's like a tiny inner that then becomes bigger, or inner and then becomes smaller, and play with the title. I don't know. And then they use like music from the Goonies. I'm like, I don't know if that works for Innerspace. And it seemed like they didn't show too much of the big special effects, at least. I don't know. The trailer was I think could have been better. And even this cover, I'm not really a big fan of this cover. It's like, what the hell is Dennis Quaid doing there? It's like, is he mimicking the guy from Troll 2? Oh my god! I mean, this is like, you look at Dennis Quaid, it's like, and Meg Ryan is just there, like, Martin Short, I mean, is he going to altered states? Is he going to the Twilight Zone? I mean, he's just floating in midair with little people humping his leg. And it's like, okay, cool, there's Vernon Wells. And then there's, I mean, just, I like the cover on the VHS better, where you had Dennis Quaid, and then Martin Short, and Meg Ryan, and then you had the actual, uh, this thing here, but right in the middle, like front and center, and like in someone's hand, and I think Dennis Quaid's hand. I always like the VHS cover better than this cover. I wish the VHS cover was this cover, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know if that's why it bombed, or they didn't do much promotion at all. They just put it out there. Oh, hey, it's produced by Steven Spielberg. Of course, he'll make money. I always thought this was just an ingenious, really cool idea. I mean, you have, and also I gotta mention before that, a wonderful score by the late great Jerry Goldsmith. He did another solid job on the musical score for this. Fits the film very well. Jerry Goldsmith is a great composer, one of my favorites. It's sad that he's gone, but again, he left behind a lot of great scores, including this one. And even songs like Twisting the Night Away. And it has fantastic special effects. It won the Oscar for special effects, richly deserved. That still hold up to this day because there's a certain physical presence to it that I don't know if you could deal with CGI. I mean, they did with Ant-Man. And I enjoyed Ant-Man. In fact, when I reviewed Ant-Man, I mentioned this movie. And, you know, I enjoyed Ant-Man, but if you want me to pick, I'd pick Innerspace. But I enjoyed Ant-Man because there's not too many movies with miniaturization. I mean, back in the day, you had, what, Fantastic Voyage? I believe that's what it was called. I actually haven't seen that. I've heard of it, though. Then you have this film, and you have Ant-Man. Unless you want kind of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I mean, that could be mentioned as well. But I thought it was a pretty original idea. Dennis Quaid is a guy named Tut Pendleton who is part of this experiment of miniaturization. He's on the outs with his girl, Meg Ryan, because he got drunk at this party. And he falls, like, shit, I spilled my drink. And he pretty much gets thrown out. And like I said, he's on the outs with Meg Ryan. She leaves him. And then on the other hand, Martin Short is this cashier at this supermarket. And he's a very nervous guy. He goes to his doctor all the time, tells her this dream, which kind of comes true. Gets very nervous, and even, you know, gets so nervous he accidentally kicks the stand that is by the doctor's tray. And I think what makes the film work and have such a good heart to it is the cast. Meg Ryan, I'm a big fan of. For some reason, she fucked up her face. I don't know why. It was shitty plastic surgery. I don't know why you needed to do that. I believe Dennis Quaid met Meg Ryan on this film, and I know they were married at least for a few years. But I mean, first off, Dennis Quaid, very underrated actor. He's done a lot of great films. I mean, you had Enemy Mine, you had Frequency. I enjoyed a film he did called Vantage Point. He's always been a capable actor. And Any Given Sunday. I knew there was something I was thinking of. I enjoyed him in that. He's done quite a few films. And you think about it, not many people talk about Dennis Quaid. I think he was in that film Wyatt Earp, which I don't think I've seen, with Kevin Costner, which I would not mind checking out one day, despite how long it is. But Dennis Quaid always had this charm to him, had a glint in his eye, and just had a charming presence, a likable presence to him, which fit well in this character. And Martin Short, I think this is one of the first films he got to do. I don't know if Three Amigos was before or after this. It might have been after this. I can't remember. Maybe it was before this. I don't know when Three Amigos came out. But, yeah, I enjoyed him, and I thought, yeah, I didn't mind Captain Ron. Martin Short's one of those guys that I don't mind. Except I hated the film he did called Clifford. I thought that was god-awful. Three Amigos is there. I was never a big Three Amigos guy, though. But I think this is Martin Short's shining hour. This is my definitely my favorite Martin Short film and performance. I think he did a great job. A lot of funny lines. I'm possessed, which I'll get to, and of course, Vernon Wells as a bad guy who has no lines of dialogue, but I believe in the commentary, which that's the only feature this has, is a commentary with director Joe Dante, producer Michael Finnell, co-stars Kevin McCarthy and Robert Picardo, and visual effects supervisor Dennis Murin, and then a trailer. So not too much for features. Just because it bombed. Although I'm thinking, why not at least have, there's no special effects featurette, considering it won the Oscar for effects? Yeah, I know you got the guy on the commentary, but still. But it's one of those films that it's creative, it's interesting, it's different, somewhat original, has a great cast of likable characters, and it's definitely not the norm. Yeah, that's the best way to mention Martin Short's character. He's sort of a hypochondriac. And anyway, long story short, Dennis Quaid, he's in this pod, gets shrunken down. They're going to put into a rabbit in this lab. Bad guys appear, start spraying people. One scientist is chased by Vernon Wells. And Vernon Wells' character actually has sort of a mechanical hand because he shoots from his finger. Thought it was interesting. And the scientist, before he dies, is able to get the needle into Martin Short's character. And the effects with Dennis Quaid inside Martin Short's character, it's just really just cool to watch, cool to look at. Like him and his pod going through the bloodstream and seeing all these red blood cells around him. Oh, when his machine's got to catch on something, otherwise he's going to go right into the heart. Or the scene where he drives it up into the optic nerve and puts something there so he can see. And Marshall's, oh, I'm blind. And even though these two don't share much on camera, like side by side together, they still had a good chemistry with each other. You know, I mean, great scenes, for example, when Dennis Quaid tries to get Martin Short drunk and says, you know, just drink this. Maybe you don't need it, but I do. Tells Martin Short to take a swig so that he has his mechanical arm to take his flask out, grab some of it, and drink up. And that's where Martin Short's, you know, dancing, really funny dance. He does twisting the night away. And pretty much, you know, before I get to that, let me go back to the effects. But even the stuff with the eye, and then later on when Vernon Wells is shrunk down and put into Martin Short, because the bad guys are, their boss is Kevin McCarthy, and they need these two chips. They have one chip, the other chip is with Dennis Quaid's character on his pod. And they need both of them to work. And I'm trying to think. It does feel a little bit long. I mean, it is 2 hours long, but at the same time, I can't really think of too much to cut out of it. And I always forget that this was actually a PG movie. Wow. I never realized this was a PG film. So, yeah, a PG film that works. But yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happens. This phony messenger with a gun that Martin Short has to fight off. When their bond is very nice, where they tell a little bit about themselves. Hey, look in the mirror. I don't even know what you look like. Martin Short just does a great job as this nervous guy. He's got to try to calm him down all the time, but not to the point of being too annoying. Not the point of doing it in every single little scene, let alone big scene. He plays that line very well. Like he's talking to Meg Ryan, and he's slams down the glass, pretty much breaks it. Another funny scene, he's in the bathroom, and again, by this time, Dennis Quaid has gotten to his ear and been able to do something so that he can talk and vice versa. So he's in the bathroom, Martin Short, and he's talking to Dennis Quaid inside him, but there's a guy watching, and he says something like, play with it, pal, but don't talk to it. And I think the guy who talks to him is the lead in that 50s movie, The Thing from Another World. Because I know Joe Dante has a habit of using, much older actors from back in the day. And the fact that he says that line, play with it, pal, don't talk to it, made me chuckle. And just oddball stuff, like Kevin McCarthy is Colin, and he's the bad guy. It's up close, it seems like he has a nice office with this big, huge white dog. I don't know what kind of dog it is, but it's like a really cool looking, big ass dog. And then the wide shot, you find out that the rest of the warehouse is completely empty. It's just Kevin McCarthy in this tiny little corner for the bad guy, but the whole rest of the warehouse is just completely, utterly empty. And there's some decent action bits. I mean, there's a scene where after Martin Short's been caught, he has to escape, but he pushes through the door of these trucks as it's moving, and Martin Short's character is hanging off the doors, and it's really good stunt work. And Meg Ryan is driving the car. And again, this would not be done for real today. But back then, it looked real. It looks fantastic. Where Martin Short's character, one leg is on the car, the other leg is stretched out on the vehicle that's driving. And a guy in a motorcycle is driving the other way and literally passes underneath Martin Short's legs as it's in the split. And he's caught between these two vehicles. And even then, when he gets on, he's like on top of the windshield and he's doing this. And then finally falls back. I mean, it looks really good. And really dangerous as well. Robert Picardo's character is fun. He plays a character called the Cowboy who's meeting with Kevin McCarthy and the other bad guys. And he's a very peculiar character. He's smoking a cigar. Someone tells him to put it out, and he puts it out in his hand. Then he sniffs the ashes. Or he's fucking in front of them. He's not fucking. It would be PG if he was fucking. He's fucking around in front of a mirror. On the Rio Grande, he's playing with a blow dryer like he's a quick draw guy. And I don't know what accent he was trying for, but just funny to listen to. And a lot of good moments that had a bit of heart to it. Like Martin Short's falling a bit in love with Meg Ryan. I mean, who wouldn't at that time? Kisses Meg Ryan at one point, and unbeknownst to them, because they kiss, the saliva gets Des Quaid from that to Meg Ryan's body. And Dennis Quaid doesn't know what's up, what's going on, and then he sees inside the womb of Meg Ryan. And you see a baby. She's pregnant. And I thought they did a really good job on the effects on how the baby looked, and it's a great looking movie on that level. Just really top-notch special effects that I think still hold up to this day, in my opinion. And again, Martin Short's very funny. I mean, a little bit after this scene here where he's been caught, Martin Short's been caught, they injected Vernon Wells' character into him, and they're about to escape because Meg Ryan rescues him. He's able to punch a guy out. Then he realizes, oh shit, no, Dennis Quaid isn't in me, he's in Meg Ryan. Then the bad guy gets up, and Martin Short's like, oh shit. Hi, Mr. Killer. But he's able to get him again. And just weird stuff that you wouldn't expect. Like, they put the bad guys into this miniature machine, and they get to like this big. And Kim McCarthy and this girl like sneak into a car and start attacking Martin Short. He's trying to punch out a very tiny looking Kevin McCarthy, all while Dennis Quaid is struggling with Vernon Wells' character. You know, pushing Vernon Wells away, making him fly off, until ultimately he's able to get Martin Short to bubble up some acid to pretty much, as Dennis Quaid says, you know, congratulations, you just digested the bad guy. How many movies can you think of that will say you just digested the bad guy? Another funny moment is when they get back to the trying to get Dennis Quaid back to normal size. There's a computer program, and it has Eat Me, Dream Me. And of course, it's from Alice in Wonderland. One makes you grow, one makes you small. They're trying to figure out which one. But Martin Short's first thing when they're wondering what is it, he's like, eat me and then dream me. He's like, it's from The Exorcist. Which, I mean, when you think about it, is a pretty dirty joke for a PG film. The fact that that's the first thing when he sees "Eat Me and Dream Me," it's from The Exorcist. I mean, think about it, what eating and drinking what. But no, of course, it's from Alice in Wonderland. But that did make me chuckle because I forgot about that line until I saw it again. He's okay. Dennis Quaid gets married to Meg Ryan, but then Martin Short sees that the cowboy, Rob Picardo, who has the mini bad guys in the trunk, has driven off in the limo of Meg Ryan, Dennis Quaid. And again, interesting idea to end the film this way. It shows that Martin Short's character has changed. He's gone through an arc. He's not a nervous, full of tics and twitches hypochondriac. He's like, no, I'm sorry, sir. I'm going to quit my job. You, my coworker, not a chance. I'm not working with you. Doctor, you know what? I'm perfectly fine. He jumps in the car, says, you know, to the rescue, and drives off while the song Twisting the Night Away plays. And I know some people feel that seemed like it would be a sequel. That never really bothered me because I didn't really see how you could make a sequel to this based on the ending. It's just Martin Short driving away, and I just say he catches up, tells Dennis Quaid what's going on, and they beat up the cowboy and the mini guys, and that's it. I guess it's just an interesting way. It's sort of a little different way to end it, but I didn't really think it would be a sequel bait ending, and that's not their intention either. I look at this film, and this film just has some really good imagination, heart, characters, humor, special effects, good story by Jerry Goldsmith. and charisma, charm on Dennis Quaid's part, which is a hard job because most of the movie just sitting, stuck, looking at instruments. Not much he can do, but he pulled it off very well. That's a tough thing to do because without being bored or making the audience bored. Martin Short, I thought he was funny, but I never found him annoying or irritating or aggravating because he was not overly whiny, he wasn't overly complaining, he wasn't overly bitchy. Like, he was nervous and twitchy, but when he realized something needs to be done, he did it. He wasn't overly crying like a baby, or he wasn't overdoing stuff until when it fit well with the movie, like when he's dancing. That was fun. Of course, I should mention another weird idea in the film with Robert Picardo is that there's a moment where Dennis Quaid. I mean, this is definitely. I mean, if you go with miniaturization, sci-fi, where Dennis Quaid like manipulates Martin Short's face so he looks like Robert Picardo's character, which was interesting. And that's something you would expect. I mean, when you think of Innerspace, you think, okay, inside the body of a person. But I never would have thought, oh yeah, let's have a bad guy miniature go into there. They have a little bit of a struggle, or yeah, I'm gonna fuck with his face so he looks like this other bad guy to sneak in. Or he didn't have a little bit of heart. Like, I mean, the scene where Dennis Quaid finds out that Meg Ryan's character is pregnant, there's a very good, touching scene. And overall, I don't really have many problems with Innerspace. It's a very solid film. It's a funny film. Again, great special effects. And this is a film that deserves a bit more time in the sun. It deserves a bit more time in the fresh air, so to speak. It should not be as underrated as it currently is. I mean, again, even the Blu-ray just has a commentary that was on the, I'm sure that was on the DVD, because I had a DVD. It's just a rental copy with no cover on it, which I'm glad to have this because at least it's a cover, better picture quality. That one was a used, because it was a rental copy, so it was scratched up. So I'm glad to have this. And yeah, it should have more features. Be very curious to see Dennis Quaid's opinion and Joe Dante. Like, have an interview with Joe Dante, have an interview with Dennis Quaid, have an interview with Martin Short, maybe even Meg Ryan. She's not doing too much nowadays. The effects guys, Robert Picardo, Dick Miller, who I think is, he's still hanging around. He had a bit part, but why not? But I mean, great cast, great score by Jerry Goldsmith, and a lot of fun. Again, definitely one of my favorite Joe Dante films. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Innerspace. Thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.